there are new owners in the League of Ireland, and they've taken over Shelbourne. It's the Turkish millionaire and Hull City owner, Akın Lisali, I believe is the pronunciation. So look, he had his press conference last week down the Aviva Stadium. Gav Cooney was down in it. He's done some good pieces on the 42 if you want to check those out. He pretty much details everything that was in the press conference and their plans. But the top line news is that they are not looking to turn Shelbourne into a feeder club for Hull City, as was probably feared. The second is that they're looking to recruit heavily. He said that very, very forthright, that they are looking to actively recruit as soon as possible and do so heavily. Damien Duff is their man that they think is going to lead them forward. They believe that he is capable of winning a league with Shelbourne. They think that they can get 15 to 20,000 people into Tolka Park if they manage to secure it, which they're actively trying to do with Dublin City Council. And they won't put it past Damien Duff to win the league next year, but absolutely bare minimum for him will be European qualification. So, David, very, very, very heavy pressure on Damien Duff for next season, because, I mean, if they're going to be playing in front of 20,000 people next season, then, that's going to add a lot of voices into the dugout,
It's probably one of them where you wonder, will the press conference be used as obviously stored for what happens at the end of this kind of project and how long it actually lasts, and people saying they're coming in with great intentions. Because it was actually interesting. Remember when Peak Six got involved with Dundalk, they actually, they actually got a fair bit of credit at the time, because they came in and were actually very open and said, we want to make the first team the dominant team and win the league every year, because that's the easiest way of getting into Europe. And they saw that of a way of making money. They didn't come in with, say, grand plans for the stadium, for the club as a whole. They very much made it very, very clear that the emphasis and the priority was going to be pretty much solely on that first team and increasing, say, the budget. Like, I remember doing interviews with Matt Hulls. Is it Hull Size, or is that how you pronounce his name? Or
yeah.
Like, I remember speaking to him, managed to get him on the phone, because I don't think he did many interviews. Father, who was pretty much there, which kind of a shame, kind of test that went well. But he was very open in saying that they had a budget that was twice the size of anyone that was near them, and that they expected then to be successful. And then he started talking about, the kind of the bureaucracy of dealing with Irish sport and all the rest of it, and they were kind of using that as the beginning of their route. But they came in and were very clear in saying it's the first team, etc., etc. Like, obviously, because Adjoan is the new owner, he came in and was obviously talking a bit more grand plans and all the rest of it. And there's obviously the issues with Dublin City Council and Tolka Park and what's actually happening there, because there's already been a verbal agreement to actually purchase Tolka. But a lot of it just, I don't know, like, even when this takeover happened, and speaking to people about like, there was a lot of positivity coming back, not just from people at Shelbourne, but also just getting in touch with people at Hull and who would be involved in the club there and would have dealings with the owners, and with Tan Kessler, who would be the vice chairman, he's now on the board, isn't he, now at Shells as well, so he's going to be very hands-on, which he is at Hull as well. And can be a lot of positivity about that, but at the same time, they're now part of a food chain, essentially, aren't they, Shells? And it's, well, when if things begin to go wrong a bit higher up, it's always that phrase as well, and without being crude about it, like, but shit rolls downhill, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? And there's that issue, and like I said this previously, like, for all the talk of, the positivity about it, and Shelbourne have needed this maybe cash injection, that's what they've said about progressing and all the rest of it. But you kind of see the thing about, say, the multi-club ownerships and talking about the synergies and all the rest of it with business speak, which obviously just straight away has red flag, because football just doesn't work like that. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't. And it's like a worry in the sense of, you see some of these football, the kind of the multi-club ownerships, and without getting into all the issues that are about that, because there's different models of it and different variations of it. But it's almost as if these businessmen, they see this as a trend, like what happens in business, things begin to trend, and things like, oh, well, we have to do this has to be part of our portfolio, this is the way football is going, etc., etc. And maybe people who, they're obviously very successful in one sphere of their life and in their business life and all the rest of it, and then say, well, oh well, this is how football is going one way, so we're going to get on the bandwagon, we're going to do this. But if you haven't got the right expertise there, and you also haven't got the right people there and stuff, it's not going to work. But also just the nature of how football is, like, it's just so unstable to be thinking that's how you're gonna do it. Like people say about it in business, and like I'm not gonna get dragged into this because I just should be like I'm not a businessman, but like what the one thing they always say is they don't want unpredictability, they don't want stuff that's unstable. That's basically what football is. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And from the football side of it, for Damien Duff, I don't think he'd be bothered too much with a manager or with an owner saying we want to achieve European football next year and expect to be challenging, like, because that's what he's been crying out for. He'll back himself to be able to go and deliver it, provided he's actually given the resources to go out and be able to compete with the teams who are already above him. So from the Duff point of view, I'd say it's music to his ears. The worry would be, as a club, when you get swept up and you get part of something else, you lose a bit of your own identity, no matter what's going to be said now, in terms of, like, maybe not the fans might not think it, and still going to be their club and all the rest of it. But for a club that has had serious issues previously, there will be red flags, and it's going to take time to be won over by these new owners.
I think there's always red flags when it comes to League of Ireland ownership, especially when it comes from external sources like this. I think my main concern with this, and I know it was, it was a press conference to launch a new era for the club, so he didn't want to be playing down things, and he wanted to probably put some optimism back into the Shelbourne support. But I just feel that his net worth is 100 million. Hull City are not big players in the championship. 100 million is not that much money. If things start to go wrong, if the economy starts to turn, if something goes wrong in English football, if the market changes dramatically, there's a lot of variables that can go wrong for Shelbourne here. So I think the next couple of years will be, I think you need to stabilize the club before you start talking about getting 15, 20,000 fans into Tolka Park. You wouldn't be able to get 15,000 fans into Tolka Park the way it is at the minute. So you're going to have to invest in that. They are talking about investing in a training ground, Shane, which I guess that's probably the best news that Damien Duff can hear from new owners, is that they're looking to invest in improving facilities, because that's something that Damien Duff always gives out about, is the training facilities in particular. He really does not think they're up to standard for professional footballers. So maybe from a coach's perspective, the pressure when it comes to new owners coming in and having big ambitions for the club, and maybe not knowing the market and what the League of Ireland is like as a probably a league and the facilities that they have. What's your general thoughts on this?
Yeah, look, I suppose anytime I'd be looking at a club, as whether it's a club that you could potentially be going into or anything like that, you're looking at the ownership, and the real thing that you want from them is for them to be realistic, I suppose. And alarm bells start going off at me when I hear an ownership talking about goals on the pitch that are, in my opinion, realistic based on the budgets that they're going to be given. So this is I suppose the key thing here is, it's all well and good talking about the aims of a minimum of European football next year and league titles very quickly around the corner. I think the European football one is achievable with reasonable investment. I think to win a league title is going to take colossal investment. And definitely in terms of realism, 15 to 20,000 at a Shells game, at any game in the League of Ireland. Sure, it's not doable in that. Like, it's not doable under any circumstances. How anybody has led him to believe that is doable is just ridiculous, really. I think it's going to be a very interesting watch. It's going to be a very interesting watch over the next while, because it's a good thing that we have such a quiet, laid back, uneventful sort of a manager at the helm during all of this. I think it is going to be fascinating, because look, you've got a situation that's quite fascinating, and you've got a manager who is certainly he's fascinating under the current situation, never mind with the potential that they have to drive things on now over the coming seasons. But it could go either of two ways. It definitely could go either of two ways. I would be shocked if Shells managed to win a league title in the next 3 to 4 seasons. I think that would be a truly remarkable turnaround. I think Peak 6 came in at a time where there weren't massive players in the market. very quickly, Shamrock Rovers became a massive player in the market around that same time because of the extra investment from the likes of a Dermot Desmond. And now Derry have become a massive player. So for somebody to come from outside Shamrock Rovers and Derry, and the money that's involved in both of those clubs who are operating on a different sphere in terms of the contract offers they're able to put out there, I think they're going to do really, really well if they think they're going to overhaul the two of them.